Hello, I'm Barrett Boone, and welcome to another episode of Small Stocks, Big Money. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focused on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines global multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors around the world. Now, today's show features interviews with the CEO and a brand ambassador for a public company. First up, we have an interview with the CEO of Alta Global Group, stock symbol MMA, on the New York Stock Exchange American. Alta Global Group presents a compelling investment opportunity in the rapidly growing market of martial arts and combat sports. Positioned as a leader in the sector's digital transformation, Ulta leverages a robust technology platform to convert MMA enthusiasts into active participants, aiming to capture a significant portion of the estimated 640 million global fans. We'll learn more when we speak with the CEO later in the show. Up next, we have an interview with Laura Sanko, the brand ambassador of Alta Global Group. Once again, that stock symbol is MMA on the New York Stock Exchange American. Laura Sanko is an ex-professional MMA fighter working with ESPN and the UFC as a broadcaster. Laura is an Alta ambassador, working with the Alta team and the Alta coaches to endorse the growth of the martial arts industry. Through her experience as a female MMA competitor, Laura recognizes the barriers to entry in this industry and works with Alta to tear those barriers down. We'll learn more when we speak with Laura later in the show. Now, before we get to the first interview, our quote of the week. It comes from the book, Small Stocks, Big Money. Invest in something you can get your arms around and be very conservative. Own enough stock so that you are not putting all of your eggs in one basket. This quote comes from Dave Malley, fund manager at Ariel Discovery Fund, and is featured in Chapter 8 of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book of exclusive interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Get a digital copy on Amazon today for just $18. Now, let's get started with our first interview today with Alta Global Group.
Nick, thanks for being with us today. The first time on our show, Small Stocks, Big Money. You're the CEO, founder of Alta Global Group, which is an amazing company, and you're trying to basically roll up the 640 million MMA fans. For our audience that's not familiar with Alta Global, give us a high-level overview of your company and your mission.
Hey, Dave. Well, our mission as a very thesis-led company is that we believe the most valuable company in the MMA sports vertical, which is the fastest growing sports vertical in the world these days, is to convert 640 million fans to participants. So at Alta, we want to connect fans of mixed martial arts to the ability to train in gym or at home, learn a great sport, and get in shape.
So these are online and in-gym training programs. Explain the business model.
Certainly, Dave. So, yeah, the business model is that we obviously know there's huge demand and viewership growth and huge demand for learning the sport, getting more heavily involved. We also know there's hundreds of thousands of gyms, martial arts gyms globally. So what we want to do is connect the customer with the opportunity to either train at martial arts academies in their local community, or of course, the opportunity to train online with some of the biggest stars and coaches in the sport who we've partnered with.
And how does the company make money doing that?
Yeah, so yes, Dave, so how we make money, we are a subscription revenue business. So customers sign up, they go to our website, trainalta.com, they sign up to train in gym or do an Alta program. We tokenize their credit card. We collect a monthly subscription. They have then the opportunity to train in gym, with wonderful coaches in their local community. Or of course, they have the opportunity to train online at home through the range of significant stars and big names that we have attached to our business who've produced online training content at home.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Conor McGregor is an investor in your company. The other founder besides yourself is his head trainer, his head coach. How did you get involved in this platform, and how did you meet Conor McGregor?
Yeah, so John Kavanagh and I started working together in very early 2017 when he started to run the Alta training program from his gym in Dublin, Ireland. Over the time, John experienced significant success in the growth of the program. John was able to connect us to a lot of famous gym owners globally. And from there, I suppose that really aligns with the mission of his star pupil, which is to positively impact people's lives through training martial arts. So it was a very natural progression, Dave, for us to, as the company grew, put the opportunity in front of Connor and his team. And we were obviously, really delighted that really one of the biggest superstars in world sport came online, invested in the business, and is really there to help us promote us and grow.
That's excellent. Now, beyond Conor McGregor, you've also partnered with many other combat sport and MMA legends. Tell us about some of these other collaborations.
Yeah, look, a couple of big names that spring immediately to mind. Daniel Cormier. Daniel is a former two-division, 9-time UFC world champion, one of the greatest to ever do it in the sport. Also wrestled at the Olympics for the United States. Daniel's retired now, retired fairly recently, best known for sitting alongside Joe Rogan in the broadcast booth most weekends, calling UFC fights. We run our Alta training programs from Daniel's Academy in the Bay Area. And then the other big name who's part of our business as well, Laura Sanko. Laura really did smash the glass ceiling for female participation in the sport from a broadcasting standpoint. Laura's a mum. She's in her early 40s. She's a former pro fighter, remarkable broadcaster, and we've been working with Laura for a few years now to really grow female participation in combat sport, and that is certainly a customer segment we're very excited about its growth.
Nick, this is a very large market opportunity. I think it's in excess of $12 billion. You're already in or partnered with 600 gyms. How many gyms are out there globally that you could partner with? How do you grow your business in this very, very large market?
Yeah, so it is a very large market, Dave. As we said at the top, 640 million fans of the sport and growing. Currently 45,000 martial arts academies in the United States, predicted to grow to 67,000 by the end of 2025. If we use the US as a proxy, we know that globally there is hundreds of thousands of martial arts academies worldwide. So there is a wonderful opportunity to ultimately partner, with all these academies to ensure the opportunity to deliver them new customers as we really focus on our mission of converting 640 million fans of the sport to people who want to go into their local gym, learn the fighting arts, train, get fit, and liaise with a great community of people.
Let's talk in more detail about the business model. You don't own gyms, but you partner with gyms. So give us some more details on how that works.
Yeah, well, Dave, I think a great proxy is what we've seen happen in the restaurant sector. We know how vast the restaurant sector is, and we know that restaurants are overwhelmingly owner-operated by nature. That is exactly the case with martial arts and combat sports gyms. So from our perspective, we've got a technology platform that effectively enables us to work with this massive fan base growth and connect them with opportunities to train inside gyms in their local areas. So if you think about what companies in the restaurant tech space like Open Table, Seven Doors, Yelp did, that's effectively exactly what we're doing. You're right, we don't own the gyms. We're not rolling out a CapEx heavy model. This is about the technology layer that goes over the top to ensure that the onboarding of the customer and the monetization of the sector is as easy and seamless as possible.
So what is a typical subscription cost, and who are these trainers that you're partnering with? And tell us more about the training programs that you're offering.
Sure. So a typical subscription ranges all the way from $9 a month at the absolute lowest end for online content access, all the way through to $400 or $500 a month if people are training 5 days a week in very immersive in-gym Alta training programs. So there's quite a wide range of subscriptions. I would say that our revenue is overwhelmingly driven by the most expensive subscriptions, which is our Alta programming. The coaches and the people who deliver our syllabuses, they're the owners of these academies and gyms. So they're taking our IP, our brand, they're looking at the syllabus of our training program, and they're delivering it to our customers globally. And this is how we ensure a really homogenous training experience and customer experience for Alta programs.
What are your margins?
So we presently, operate at blended margins of between 38 and 40% based on our current subscription base. As that grows over time, we see opportunities for that margin to lift as more and more of our revenue is contributed via the online training. However, I should say we're very, very focused on getting as many people as possible to train in gym as well, because that's ultimately where the best experience is had. But it is important that we've got online training modules for customer convenience and for people who don't have a great combat sports gym located in their suburb.
What's the big picture? You're in revenue now, you have subscribers, but how big can you grow this over the next few years?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. I think the market growth of this sector has been dizzying, and I think that's enormous credit to the success of the UFC, particularly over the last sort of decade, 15 years. We see an opportunity for us to really aggregate participation in martial arts and combat sports globally, to really bring together, ultimately what could constitute hundreds of thousands of gyms to be published on our platform and receiving customers for us. So we're talking about a business that, again, in penetration of the fan base, tens of millions of paid monthly subscribers. So again, when I look at the speed at which the segment is growing, we see opportunities for many hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of revenue in the coming years. That's the ultimate goal, Dave.
One thing we didn't talk about, which I love about your business model, is your cost of acquisition of a subscriber. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's really important to note, I think, in this day and age, consumers are particularly savvy, and what consumers react to and want is high quality content. So if you're partnered with some of the best identities and coaches in the world, and you're producing content that the audience wants, that is the fastest way to a customer conversion. And that's certainly what makes us really excited. I mean, we've lowered our customer acquisition costs significantly in the last 12 months. And that's overwhelmingly been as we've brought online additional, technology that allows the very effective amplification of great content. Customers don't want ads. They want great content. That's what they respond to. And that's what converts them into paid subscriptions.
Excellent. One thing I really like also is that your inside ownership is quite high, even with the IPO. What is that inside ownership today?
Yeah, so between the board, the key execs, and all the really early original shareholders, you're looking at those people, owning around about 61% of the company. I think it's really important to note that they're people who really believe in the investment thesis and the long-term opportunity. I think the IPO was wonderful to access more balance sheet strength and to speed up our growth. But from that perspective, I certainly know that within our tight network, the stock will be pretty tightly held, and we want to build it into something enormously valuable, Dave.
Well, today there's only about 1.3 million shares in the float, so potentially, even in the short term, a lot of upside as investors become aware of the story. In just 30 seconds, sum it up for us. Why should investors take an interest in your company today?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Well, I think first and foremost, you are looking at a company that is growing inside the most attractive and fastest growing sports vertical in the world. So if people look at that and want to get exposure to that growth, Alta Global Group is really the only listed pure play MMA company. And obviously we trade under the stock symbol MMA. And obviously the opportunity, the fact that we have first mover advantage, we're looking to aggregate training, we're looking to convert 640 million fans of the sport into participants both in gym and online, the level of upside growth in our business in the coming years is enormous. And I think it's fair to say that we've seen enormous growth in viewership in the last 10 years, characterized by the UFC success. I think the next 10 years, you see enormous growth in the fitness and participation adjacencies as part of that. So in that regard, we feel we're ideally placed, Dave.
Indeed you are. It's a great story. I look forward to continuing our relationship. Nick, thanks for being with us today.
Great to be here today, Dave.
Now, to get more information on Alta Global Group, visit mmainfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, the latest investor presentation, and all of the latest videos. It's completely free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, and that features emerging growth companies like Alta Global Group. And be sure to sign up for our weekly newsletter and learn about a lot of small cap companies. You can also go to our website and sign up on our events page for our webinar series. We have webinars every week in which we feature small public companies, mostly client companies. You'll be able to hear straight from the CEO, and a Q&A session will follow after the presentation. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can also order your copy of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Order your copy at redchip.com today for just $18. Now, let's move on to our next interview today with Laura Sanko.
Laura, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my privilege. You are a pioneer in the UFC. You're an American mixed martial arts commentator, former fighter. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then I want to talk about why you're involved with Alta Global Group.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the heart of it, I really am just a passionate fan. I started watching MMA around 2004 when I was in college, and fell in love with the sport enough to start training myself in 2006, and then went on to have an amateur and very brief pro career. And then it, sort of snowballed into becoming a broadcaster for the UFC. And now I'm the first female commentator since UFC 1. So it's been quite the journey. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm still very much a fan.
Tell us a little more about how you got involved with the MMA, the public company.
Yeah. So originally Alta was called Wimp to Warrior, and that's how I first came across it. I had heard of this company called Wimp to Warrior, and a friend of a friend happened to be involved with them, and he said, hey, I think you could really bring something to the table here, and I think you would really enjoy it, because it's very much at that time, they were looking to reach people who were just like myself, fans at home, interested in the idea of, could I do that? Could I really, could I get in a fight? Could I train? Could I have that same experience as these fighters that I'm watching on TV? And because that was basically my lived experience, it was a perfect fit. And I think I don't know, I was immediately passionate about being involved with them, because it really speaks to the power that this sport has in terms of, it just has this way of, once you start training, it kind of grabs a hold of you and ignites, I think, a side of you that a lot of people, certainly I, didn't really know existed until I started training. And then I couldn't put it down. So when I got connected with Alta, it was kind of an immediate love between the two of us, and I'm excited that I've been able to help them bridge the gap between being a public facing company and connecting that with the journey that a fan and a participant would go through, because I've lived it.
Laura, given your perspective on the evolution of MMA, how important is the digital transformation for martial arts and gyms?
Oh, it's critical. It's critical, honestly, for the survival and growth of these gyms, because, You know, when we think of gyms outside of the context of martial arts, we think of big box gyms that have nationwide brands and big companies that can support their growth, right? But that's really not the case when you're talking about martial arts gyms. And again, there are 45,000 of them nationwide. There are probably 50 gyms within a 10-mile radius of you right now. But the majority of them are run by passionate martial artists. Most of them are an individual who experienced martial arts for themselves and they thought, you know what, this is my life's passion. I'm going to open a gym. But they're not business people by and large. And most of their time is spent, as it should be, teaching on the mat. It's not spent figuring out ways to streamline and grow their processes. I train at a great gym here in Kansas City. It's one of the best in town. And yet, attendance in terms of like who's coming to class and who isn't is still done by punch card. Imagine coming to a library these days and actually pulling out one of those drawers and using a card. That's the era that these gyms are living in. They simply don't have the time or really the background to be able to integrate technology effectively into their day-to-day lives. And that is the role that Alta can come in and in one fell swoop present to them and give them this very easily accessible toolbox to help manage their payment systems, to help manage their curriculum, to track attendance, to allow the instructors to create content and deliver it to their smaller community and the community at large. These are all things that they desperately need and desperately want, but there's a chasm between I need this, I want this, I know I have a problem that needs to be fixed, and actually finding a solution. And that's where Alta comes in.
Laura, what excites you most about being part of the Alta team?
Well, two things. I mean, my background is in entrepreneurship and early stage venture capital. So I was very excited about, the prospect for the growth of this company. But really, at the end of the day, it's the idea of being able to give back to mixed martial arts. It gave so much to me when I found the sport and when I really dove into the training that I was on a bit of a mental health journey, to be honest with you. Two different times. Once was a time when I was just going through a lot of personal difficulty, and I knew I needed something to take me out of those sort of spinning thoughts, and training did that for me in a way that running and lifting weights just simply didn't. And then later on in life, after I had my son, it was, again, sort of this mental health, I won't call it a crisis, but, a need to find my identity again. So if I can participate in something that will benefit the sport beyond, just the excitement of being part of a high growth company, then I'm all in.
Well, it's a fascinating story. You're a fascinating human being, and we wish you the best in your career. Laura, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, to get more information on Alta Global Group, visit mmainfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, the latest investor presentation, and all of the latest videos. It's completely free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, and that features emerging growth companies like Alta Global Group. Now, let's recap the company you met with today. First, you met with the CEO of Alta Global Group, which is stock symbol MMA on the New York Stock Exchange American. Alta Global Group presents a compelling investment opportunity in the rapidly growing market of martial arts and combat sports. Positioned as a leader in the sector's digital transformation, Alta leverages a robust technology platform to convert MMA enthusiasts into active participants, aiming to capture a significant portion of the estimated 640 million global fans. You can learn more at www.mmainfo.com. Then, you met Laura Sanko, the brand ambassador of Alta Global Group. Once again, that's stock symbol MMA on the New York Stock Exchange American. Laura Sanko is an ex-professional MMA fighter working with ESPN and the UFC as a broadcaster. Laura is an Alta ambassador, working with the Ulta team and coaches to endorse the growth of the martial arts industry. Through her experience as a female MMA competitor, Laura recognizes the barriers to entry in martial arts and works to lower these barriers for all. Learn more at www.mmainfo.com. Don't forget to check out our stocks page. It's the biggest small cap stock portal in the industry, and it has every company listed on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange with market caps of $2 billion and under. And it's categorized by industries. While you're on our website, be sure to sign up for our weekly newsletter and learn about a lot of small cap companies. There you can also go to our events page and sign up for our webinar series. We have webinars every week, and we feature small public companies. Mostly client companies. You'll have the opportunity to hear straight from the CEO and ask questions after the presentation. Again, if you have any questions about any of our public companies that are featured on today's show, call us at 1-800-RED-CHIP or email us at info@redchip.com. In closing, remember, while small caps can provide significant gains, you must be prepared for the downside, as small caps are among the most volatile of the asset classes. Some of the companies featured on the show are RedChip client companies, and we may own stock in these companies, so please always read our disclosures at redchip.com. Thank you very much for being with us today, and we'll see you next week with some new, exciting emerging growth companies.